Hello and welcome to another edition of the program that celebrates life after 50. Of course, we're talking about Forever Young. I'm your host, David, and we'd like to thank you for tuning in for the response that we've been getting for our programs. We thank you so much. And if you do like what you're hearing or want some more information, drop us a line. HopeTV.com is our website. My co-host, as always, we call her beautiful because that's exactly what she is. Ms. Jean Hendricks, welcome to the show again.
Thank you, David. As always, I'm delighted to share this stage with you. It is always an honor to sit side between you and Dr. Mitchell. Thank you again. Back to you, David.
And of course, Dr. Mitchell is our resident producer, but she's also our co-host. She does a lot of things around the House of Hope Atlanta. She's on our executive staff, and welcome.
Thank you, David. As always, it's a pleasure to share this platform with you and the lovely Miss Jean Hendricks. Glad to be part of the show today.
You know, today is a very important day in a lot of different ways. Those of you, by the time you guys see the show, the day will have passed, but the day we're taping today is 9/11. Of course, we all know that 9/11 was the day when America was attacked. We lost the World Trade Centers, and over 3,000 Americans lost their lives. And so we continue to send out our condolences to those families who have suffered that loss. And we just wanted to make sure that we did not let this day go without making that observance. So today, one of the things that we love about this country is that we have a freedom to exercise our power at least every year. Not every 4 years, as some people have a tendency to do, but every year, whether it be your state, your local, or the national elections, we have a chance to vote. And voting is so important because it is the beginning and the impetus of change. Now, people have a tendency to say, oh, my vote don't count, but that's not true. Change doesn't always happen immediately, but it happens incrementally. And so we're so excited today to have with us a gentleman who has been at the forefront of a lot of initiatives. One, he's been the beneficiary of you going to the vote and making him an elected official in DeKalb County, became the interim CEO of DeKalb County. He was appointed to that position by the former governor, Nathan Deal, in 2013. Product of, and I'm very proud to say, because I'm a product of a historically Black college, and he is too, of university, but he also matriculated and graduated from Emory University Chandler School of Theology. He holds his master's in divinity, and we're going to get more into his background and what he's doing, and because he's really involved in some important initiatives, you know, because the thing about, and I use that segue because in our communities, most of our leaders have come from the church or historically Black colleges, which I feel are the strongest institutions in our communities. And so we all know Dr. King and so many of our leaders came out of the church. And so our guest today, Mr. Lee May, is no different. And so we want to first just welcome you to the show today.
It's good to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
No, we're glad that you could be here because you have so much to share with us, and you've got an illustrious career, and you still have that baby face. So that's the good part. And, again, today we're talking about, it's on everybody's mind, and that is voting. It's become so important to vote, like I said, in every election, but in the wake of losing, Reverend C.T. Vivian, and then, of course, Representative John Lewis, it kind of puts the spotlight back on the importance of voting. And you are the head of an organization that's kind of transforming and making sure that our churches are getting involved in that process. As my pastor likes to say, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I'm going to share some information on you. Then if you're smart enough, you'll figure it out. But you are the lead pastor of Transforming Faith Church, and as I said, the former interim CEO. Why are you now organizing the DeKalb Pastors Christian?
Well, thank you for again inviting me on and to discuss this really important topic, especially in this season. Let me give one bit of clarity. I am not the leader of the organization. I'm just one of the many pastors. It's a coalition of pastors in DeKalb County. You gave the name DeKalb Pastors Christian Alliance, and we came together really to just help make DeKalb County a better place and help to really make a tremendous impact on the lives of the citizens, residents of the county. And so during this season, election season, we wanted to do something intentional to make sure that we're not only making our voice heard, but we're doing something proactive to realize what we all want, which is the active participation in the civic process. You named some giants who we have lost this year. Reverend Dr. Joseph Lowry, who was literally a mentor of mine. He was one of the people that initially gave me hope that I could even consider running for office. And Congressman John Lewis, I mean, he was such a great supporter of mine. Anytime we needed anything, he would make it his purpose to help us. Whenever I was in Washington, D.C., he would make sure with his busy schedule that he was there to meet with us and all of that. Reverend James Orange, you didn't mention him. We lost him some years ago, but a giant in the civil rights movement. I'm naming these names because these were critical people in my upbringing as a young kid, fresh out of college, a few years out of seminary, who literally took me under their wing, and I just got to see them talk about the importance of civic engagement, of making your voice heard through your vote. And essentially, that's what we're trying to do as a alliance of pastors, the DeKalb Pastors Christians Alliance. We're not just talking a good game, or as we would say in my vernacular, we're not just talking about it, we are being about it. You know, talk is cheap, and we are trying to do this. And so just a little bit about the campaign. The campaign is called DeKalb Votes Together, and it is a vote by mail initiative. What we're trying to do for this November election, our overarching goal is to increase voter turnout for this election. And like you said, we don't have to tell you who to vote for, but we know when our people show up to vote, we'll get the kind of outcomes that we really are hoping for and desiring for, and in this season that we absolutely need, right? And so we are looking to meet our overarching goal by promoting vote by mail. And so we have two quantitative goals in this campaign. Goal number one is to get 50 DeKalb County churches to join the campaign, to say they want to be a part of this coalition of pastors promoting this voting initiative. And then number two is to get 25,000 registered DeKalb voters to pledge to vote by mail early for this November election. So those are two big goals that we have, and we believe between those two goals, we will realize our overarching goal, which is to increase voter turnout.
Jean, did you have a question for Mr. Lee?
Well, yes, I did. I think he's really kind of alluded to it. But I think perhaps one of the most important things I want to ask him at this point is, you have pastors and you have churches that are involved in this particular alliance. How are they specifically helping people to get out to vote? What campaign are you doing specifically? You know, what will I get from this allowance?
Absolutely. So our campaign, this initiative has three phases to it. It's voter education, it's voter mobilization, and it's voter protection. And education, where this campaign is concerned, is helping people to understand this process. So this, we're having 4 different educational opportunities where we are streaming virtually through Zoom. You know, everybody loves Zoom. I hope we all have stock in Zoom because everybody's live streaming now. But we will be streaming through that virtually, and where it will hit all of our social media pages, helping to educate people about this process. How do you vote by mail? How do you go about requesting your absentee ballot? How do you go about filling it out? How do you go about returning that ballot? And so that educational piece is critical for that. And so we want to be a centerpiece where people can come for that voter education where vote by mail is concerned. And then voter mobilization is just literally after you've been educated, we want you to actually go out and vote. It doesn't really do any good if you have all this voter education, but you don't implement that education by actually voting. And so we want to help people make sure that they request their absentee ballot. And then when they receive their absentee ballot, encourage them to fill it out, complete it, and then actually help them determine where and how they want to return that absentee ballot. In our county, in our state of Georgia, I know y'all have viewers all over the country. We can return it by mail, or we can return it by various county-controlled drop boxes for your absentee ballot. And so we're going to help people to actually do that final thing, which is to return that absentee ballot. And then the final piece is voter protection. Y'all know that is the big elephant in the room. Even when we're talking about vote by mail, is that we have a president, y'all, number 45, Donald Trump, who is spreading as much misinformation, bad information, rumors, and innuendo about this mode of voting. For whatever reason, he believes is not to his advantage to have a high turnout of voters and to have a high number of people to vote by this process. And so as people get educated, as they actually mobilize and vote, we want to help people make sure that their ballots are received, they're verified, and they're cast. And we want to point them to the Secretary of State. You can electronically see when your ballot has been received, and if it's not, we want to really launch into action to help make sure that everyone who voted that they can verify that their vote has been cast. So those are three very important pieces for us. Again, with all of the misinformation that is going on, one of the things that we want to provide is a sense of comfort and confidence in this process. You know, we believe, vote by mail is a time-tested, tried and true way of voting. People have been doing it for decades and decades. As a matter of fact, this last primary election, almost 25% of the people who voted by mail. You know, and there's nothing wrong with this. There is no major fraud that has been identified, that has been investigated. I mean, yes, there's anything can have fraudulent activity, but there's been no mass cases of fraud. And so we want to be in a position to provide people with comfort and confidence about this vote by mail process, which we know is safe, we know it's secure, and we know it's a viable way to cast your ballots.
Okay, I was going to ask, I was considering, this is a personal question, I was considering voting by mail, but I changed my mind after I heard about that there was some ballots that got lost and it was not counted. And now I hear you saying that there is a way of tracking your ballot. How will the average American be able to track that ballot that they have mailed? How do I do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And again, and so let me also say this. My very first time voting by mail was during this last primary election. And so me, Lee May, the guy who's been on ballots, who went out and tried to get people to vote for me, if I have never voted by mail prior to this primary, and you can imagine that the everyday, voter may have some consternation, some challenge with that, and not have all of the information. So again, we want to be that in that position. Our website is decabvotestogether.com. That's www.decabvotestogether.com. It's a really simple website, but again, we want to provide the information. How do you vote by mail and all of that information? Simply put, in Georgia, and I can only speak for Georgia, our Secretary of State, the person who is in charge for all elections, to certify elections and all of that, on the Secretary of State's website, under the elections tab, people can go and see when their ballot has been cast. So when I voted that way, I didn't mail mine off. I actually put it in one of our county controlled, in DeKalb County, one of our county controlled absentee ballot drop boxes. And let me tell you when I did it. I did it. So this is one of the good things I saw coming out of this past election in Georgia. As we all know, there were some major, major challenges all throughout the state, long lines, people weren't able to vote adequately and all of that. But when I dropped my ballot off in that drop box, literally I was able to see it the next day. I don't know what happened, and I can't promise that is going to happen again. It very likely won't, so I don't want to give people that expectation. But when I did it, I could see that they received my ballot and what day it actually was cast as well. And so for me, that gave me personal comfort in knowing that my ballot was cast. And so, you can do all of this electronically now, which is really a blessing as a part of all of this.
Thank you.
And so, Pastor May, I wanted to kind of get you back to the alliance itself.
Yeah.
For pastors interested in participating in the alliance, what do they need to do? How do they get connected and involved?
Thank you, Sharon, for that. That is a really good question. So there's really two pieces to this. So we have the campaign, and then you have the alliance, right? Right now, the 50 pastors that we want to join this campaign, we're just asking them to join the voting initiative. We're not even asking them to join the alliance. We don't want to mix the two right now, because one thing that we all know that we can agree on, that it's important for us to vote. And so if pastors want to join the campaign, they can go to our website at decabvotestogether.com. They can email us at info at decabvotestogether.com to get more information. But they literally can sign up on our website, fill out a form, and they can be a part of this campaign. Now, the alliance itself has a much larger mission and vision than just voting. Voting is one of the big parts of it. But, we want to impact criminal justice. We want to impact relationships between the community and law enforcement. We want to affect educational opportunities. We've been meeting with our police chief. We've been meeting with our new school superintendent as well to make some distinctive changes and for the better in our county. And that's what the coalition is for. That's what the DeKalb Pastors Christian Alliance is all about. It's relatively new, so pastors in the county may have said, well, I never heard of it. Well, that's because it's new. And we have really a good coalition of pastors that are part of it. And we're looking to grow it. We put together the infrastructure of the organization, and now we're looking to have new members join and be a part of it.
Now, speaking about the alliance, this is really good, because I think the role of the new church, and I like to say the new church, because I think the new church is really taking its role into not only saving the spiritual for the afterlife, but making sure that the life we have here is of quality. And so it's good to see this. Now, I don't know, I'll put you on the spot, yay or nay. Can you give us some of the churches or the pastors who are involved in the alliance? And if that's, sometimes calling names, you might mess somebody. So if you don't feel comfortable.
Absolutely. No, you're good. You're good. I'll just name a few, and don't get me in trouble, because now, when you start naming names, then those who you don't name.
That's why I kind of said that for you. Don't blame him, blame you.
Right. But what I will do is name some of the founding pastors who were really a part of the original start of that. That's a smaller group of pastors. So you have like Pastor William Flippin over at Greater Piney Grove. You have Dr. Cynthia Hale, Ray of Hope. You have Pastor Carl Moore of Clarkston First Baptist. You have Pastor Stephen Dowell of Rainbow Baptist Church in Decatur off Columbia as well. You have Pastor of Fairfield Baptist Church and Michael Benton. And so you have a number of these original pastors. You have some that have passed away now. Bishop Quincy Carswell was one of the original founders. Bishop Eddie Long was one of the original founders of it as well. And so yeah, it's just this group now. We are starting. So like I'm brand new. I always say I'm a rookie in the preaching game, right? I'm a young buck in pastoring, and I just decided I wanted to come along and really make an impact as a coalition. See, I believe in the coalition in this alliance because I believe that we can do more when many of us come together. We can get more accomplished when we set aside our personal agendas. We can still do our personal things, but when we come together, we can really, really make an impact in our county. And so I'm committed to that, and I'm just excited about this alliance. And of course, any members, ask your pastor, hey, are you a member of the DeKalb Pastors Alliance? And when they say no, say, I think you, my pastor, need to be a part of it because they are really going to make some tremendous changes in our county for the better.
You talked about the alliance, and it's really good, and it's a slight segue, but because of this whole voting initiative, all the Black radio stations in Atlanta have come together and formed Black Radio United, and your alma mater, Clark Atlanta, we're a part of that as well, and it's because we know we need to get that word out. Now you bring a real specific and a special perspective to this whole political scene because you were elected official. So how has that, from your experience, how does that shape you and your contribution to the Alliance in these types of initiatives?
Well, I will say that when we began the discussion on what we wanted to do for a voting initiative, I think all eyes virtually looked at me because of my experience in running campaigns. And I quickly said, yeah, I'll do it. Because in this very unusual kind of place and season that we're in, we wanted to be intentional about what we do in terms of making sure that we can increase voter turnout. Every election, and I heard you say earlier, elections are not every 4 years. They're literally, depending on where you live, there's an election every year, just about. Because when you add in the local officials, cities and counties, and state, and then the national level, you literally can be voting for something or someone every year, and it's critical that we understand that. But I look at my roles both on the political side, my former life in politics, and my current and future life in the pulpit as being very, very similar. We both are called to make a difference in the lives of people. We both are called to love people. In our faith, we say the two highest, greatest commands is to love God and love our neighbor, and when I was in politics, I looked at it as my personal mission. And so now I want to show my love to God by how I show him how I love his people, my brothers and sisters. We believe that through this voting initiative and many of the other things that we are currently in the middle of right now, that is how we tangibly show our love for God's people. That's how we make a difference in our community.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, no, I was going to ask him about what is DeKalb Votes Together? What does that mean?
So, and I alluded to this earlier.
Okay.
We are much stronger when we work together. We can make a greater impact when we work together. And so this is a DeKalb initiative. It is a voting initiative. And in order to realize our overarching goal of increasing voter turnout, we have to, it's a mandate that we do this thing together. And so essentially that's how the name came about. DeKalb Votes Together. And then, as I always do, I probably have 100 websites that I have paid for, even if it's not a website up. I have the name reserved. So the first thing I did after that name came about is went to see if I could get the domain. It was available. I bought it right then and there and just held it until we were ready to kind of get everything going.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
So Pastor May, why should this initiative be important to our audience? What's
Well,
in
yeah. So
for us?
yeah, let's be clear. We are knocking on the door of 200,000 people who have died because of COVID-19. We are still in the middle of a pandemic, y'all. Daily, I am hearing of close friends of mine
Yes.
who have contracted this virus. My sister has contracted it. Thank God she's recovered and she's healthy and all of that. But I had an aunt to pass from this virus. This thing is real. I don't care what, and again, what we're doing is not partisan, but I'm speaking to facts, things that people said. I don't care what the president has said. This is not like the flu. There is no cure for this. There is no vaccine. And so I'm saying all that to say, we want, as a church, we have been worshiping virtually since March. I'm tired, y'all. I'm tired of that. I want to see our people face to face. I want to hug them. I want to laugh with them. I want to slap them on the back, give them a fist bump. But we're not ready yet. We're not ready. And some of our members, they get a little antsy. They want us to figure out some creative way that we can come together. And I'm really hesitant on that, because every time we do something, even if we're socially distancing, even if we have our mask on, every time we as a church invite people to come out, we're inviting them to come out into the world in the middle of this pandemic.
Yes.
And so the why behind the Vote by Mail initiative is because we believe it is the safest way that you can participate in this election. It's the safest way. It's not the only way, and people, have the right to choose. So we're not telling people not to take advantage of the other ways to vote, but we believe this is the safest way to vote. Now, one of the things that we're doing intentionally is the election is November the 3rd, right? It's November the 3rd. We will stop promoting this Vote by Mail campaign on October the 21st. Now, why are we doing that? It's a gap between the 21st and the 3rd. And you can vote all the way up until the day of the election by mail. We're doing it because of what we have seen going on with the United States Post Office, with the slowness of it. We believe it's intentional. And so we want to be safer than sorry. We believe that if you cast your ballot, put it in the mailbox by October the 21st, that is enough time for it to get to your local county official, it be received, and there's not there not be a problem, with it. We're gonna promote it up until October the 21st. Then from October the 21st, we're gonna encourage people to vote early. At that point, you can only vote in person, but vote early. Now, if you vote early, there'll be less lines, there won't be as much traffic and all of that. And we'll do that all the way up until election day, up until our early vote ends. And then the third phase of this is we will focus on actual election day. So it's kind of a phased approach as well. It's vote by mail through October 21st. It's vote early from the 21st to the end of the early vote. And then on election day, November the 3rd. So we just want to be thoughtful about what we're doing. And we're also encouraging people to, when you fill out your ballot, if you can, find and locate a county-controlled absentee ballot drop box and put it in there. Don't even go through the post office if you don't have to. Because I have greater trust in our county officials than I do of what's going on with the United States Postal Service right now. And so that's our encouragement. But if you want to put in the mail, that's not really an issue. Just do it up until October the 21st. And then after that, look at the other ways to vote.
Something very important in what you just said. You said, because what you said kind of points to the trickery. You vote by mail up until election day.
Yeah.
If you vote on election day by mail, you're probably not going to have your vote counted, And so those are the things that are being done. And I think that the other part, now I heard this on the news, and you and the Alliance might want to check it out. It's one of the lead stories we had today on our morning newscast was that the Secretary of State says that if a ballot is not completed or is 10% not completed, is less than 10% completed, they will throw out the ballot. So in other words, if you just go and vote for the president and turn in your ballot, that ballot may be discarded. And so we're trying to get to the bottom of that and try to figure out. So that's something that we heard today that was reported in the news, and you might have heard something about that.
Well, and so you use the word, what did you say, trickery or?
Trickery. Mm-hmm.
Chicanery is the one I was trying to, but I couldn't come to chicanery.
Yeah, I call it trickeration. Just it's any kind of version of tricker of just people not being honest and people trying to do things. Because let's be clear, this is all to suppress the vote. This is going back to poll taxes. This is going back to preventing certain groups of people of voting. That's what it is. These are fear tactics that people are putting in place. If you don't vote all the way down the ballot at the election place, why do you all of a sudden have to vote all the way down the ballot for an absentee ballot? That is crazy.
Right.
If I don't know or I don't like any of the candidates, you will not force me to vote. And there's nothing in the law that says that is mandatory. And so every time you see these news articles that come out, the Secretary of State also came out and reported that 1,000 people voted twice, and I don't know if that's true or not. I honestly, here's the other thing. I don't know if that is out of the ordinary of what's happened before. Some people may vote twice because they thought that, just to make sure that their vote was cast and let them, so to put it out there as if there's all of this illegal activity going on is nonsensical. It's wrong. And it's just, it's indicative of what we're dealing with on so many levels. And the only person who has encouraged people to go vote twice is who?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. He is the only person.
Yep.
He is the only person.
This is such a rich conversation, and I know there's some more information that we need to depart, but I think we're coming to the end of this segment. Would you be gracious enough to come back for a part 2 to do this?
I would love to.
Okay. Well, we're gonna just put the pin right there with Donald Trump and his tricks, and we're gonna come back and talk more to Pastor Lee Mayer about what the Pastors Alliance, what they're doing, and we'll get more into that. But I just want to thank you for taking the time to sit with us. And so I'm going to just say on behalf of Gene and Dr. Mitchell, we want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank our audience for joining us, and please join us for part 2 of this important discussion for Ever Young, because again, what we're talking about affects everyone. So again, we're going to come back and talk more with Pastor May on this important topic. So until the next time, we want to say thank you for being with us. And remember, you are forever young because age ain't nothing but a number. Until next time, I'm David C. Linton on behalf of Gene Hendricks and Dr. Mitchell and Pastor May. Bye now.